certainly are on their way, and the excitement is really building here. You can hear behind us the US Air Force this morning, the band who are entertaining the crowd. I mean, it looks like thousands of people here now, doesn't it?
They're amazing turnout this morning. Huge crowds, you can probably see. We are just minutes away from the Flypast, all of which is in tribute to the 10 US airmen who sacrificed their lives for others this day 75 years ago. It is a unique atmosphere here this morning. We'll have more throughout the morning. Right now, though, the news and the travel and the weather where you are. Good morning and welcome back to Endcliffe Park in Sheffield. We are here just minutes away now from a Flypast which will be high above our heads here to mark the sacrifice of 10 US air servicemen who lost their lives trying to save the lives of others.
Have a look at this crowd because it is huge now. There must be thousands of people. Morning, everyone!
It is a remarkable atmosphere because on the one hand we are very much paying attention to the sacrifice of those 10 US airmen, but it is definitely a sense of celebration, if you like, of what one person will do for another if it's required.
And to honour that, in just 15 minutes' time, there will be a Flypast here. We will see the planes, British and American planes, who will be going ahead over here, and Tony, who started all this campaign off, every time I see your name you get a cheer, I love it, will be here as well, and you'll be waving up at the planes, won't you, shortly?
I think we can see, actually, maybe our shots can show us, we have a helicopter high over our heads here, and that will be the image we take. The planes themselves, the aircraft will fly beneath the helicopter, and we will get a wonderful image as they come past. So that's what, in just around 12-13 minutes time. We will take the news with Ben, who's back in the studio, and then we will be right back here in Sheffield in a few minutes.
Mike, thanks very much. Yeah, just weeks in the making, but today is the day, and in the next few minutes we're going to see that incredible Flypast. Tony got his Flypast. So let's head straight back to Sheffield and to Endcliffe Park, where Steph and Charlie are for us this morning with a very special programme here and some very special stories from some very special guests. Morning to you both.
Good morning to you, Ben. Yeah, it is quite the morning here, let me tell you. You can see there is, well, quite an enormous crowd now. As far as my eyes can see, I can see people who are gathered here today at Endcliffe Park in Sheffield to commemorate 75 years after the US aircraft crashed, killing 10 US servicemen.
Yeah, so it's one of those mornings of mixed emotions because it is a terrific atmosphere, and Tony's with us now. Tony has been attending, and it is worth taking a moment, Tony, because every time we introduce you, there is so much love in this park for you today, for all the time you have spent over so many years in tribute to those 10 young men.
Yeah, guilt. The guilt I've always
You've said that many times, that you feel a sense of guilt.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Can I give you an example? Well, say you were in a car, you killed someone, just one. How do you feel?
I feel guilty.
Multiply that 10 times.
But explain to people, Tony, because, and of course, let me introduce, these are the family members of the crew who were this morning. And just explain that a little bit for us, because you were just a boy then. You were just a boy playing with your friends.
Yeah, but I'm not now. The guilt has got more, it took over my life more every year.
Can I ask you one thing, Tony? And people will be listening really carefully about how you're describing your emotions today and what you call guilt. Is this helping you? These people here today with the emotions that are on display.
It's not for me. It's for them.
Yeah, and by
this
them.
is all about my lads. That's what it's all about.
So well said. So well said.
And you're referring back there to the image we've got, but also the memorial, which you have visited every day. When you first got here this morning, the first thing you said was, I'm going to go and see my friends.
Yeah. They're family. They are family to me.
Well, speaking of family, let's introduce Jim Kriegshauser, who's the nephew of John, who was the pilot on that day. Very good morning to you. Megan Leo is great niece of Lieutenant Melcher Hernandez. It's really touching, isn't it? When Tony says about, this feels like his family too now. It's a special day for you.
It's amazing, and just I feel as if I've just learned about this entire extended family in Sheffield that we'd never known about. That this memory is so.
Now, I'm going to stop you there because I understand the aircraft are visible from where we are.
About a minute away now.
We have three experts to talk us through the Flypast itself. Colonel Will Marshall and Mark Skulko and Captain Blythe Crawford coming over now. Please talk us through events.
So the first aircraft over is the Dakota. That is from the Battle of Britain Memorial flight based at RAF Coningsby. This one is in the colours of 233 Squadron, who flew during World War II and were involved in D-Day operations.
Next are the MC-130J Commando 2 and the CV-22 Osprey from the 352nd Special Operations Wing located at RAF Mildenhall. The MC-130J and the CV-22 are experts at precision infiltration, exfiltration, and resupply of our Special Operations Forces. We proudly tie our European Air Commando Lincoln heritage to the carpetbagger operations of World War II. On this 75th anniversary, we honor Mi Amigo and the courage and sacrifice of those forces. Ladies and gentlemen, now approaching is the KC-135 Stratotanker from the 100th Air Refueling Wing at RAF Mildenhall, also known as the Bloody 100th. The square D insignia annotated on the tail is a symbol dating back to the era of Mi Amigo, and the 100th is the only unit in the United States Air Force still authorized to display this type of marking on their aircraft. It is our honor to thank Mr. Tony Folds and the City of Sheffield for preserving the legacy of those brave men who tragically lost their lives 75 years ago today.
The KC-135 is closely followed by two Typhoons from number 41 Squadron. That's our test and evaluation squadron based at RAF Coningsby.
Final four aircraft approaching now are F-15E Strike Eagles from the 48th Fighter Wing, also known as the Liberty Wing. These jets will be flying what's known as the Missing Man Formation, where the gap represented in the formation is to honor and represent the missing Mi Amigo crews and honor the sacrifice they made on this very field 75 years ago today. While you could not see it from here, the name of all 10 crew members have been placed on one of those jets. As they make their return jet formation home, those same formation will fly over the American Cemetery at Cambridge, where 3 of the Mi Amigo crew members are laid to rest. May their sacrifice and those men never be forgotten.
What can you say?
was waiting 66 years for.
It is so fitting that Tony, if I may, it's so fitting that you should be watching this literally surrounded by the loved ones, the families of the pilots and also crew members who were there. It is in many ways exactly how this story should be.
Thank you. I can't believe all this. This is unbelievable to me.
Jim, give us a thought from, I know many members of your family are here today. Yes. They're all at a table over there. Good morning to you guys as well. What has this meant for your family?
Well, it's awesome. And I think it's a memorial to the men, but as much to Tony as them, and the nobility of the human spirit.
And Megan, I mean, I heard you gasp a couple of times when you were watching that.
Well, especially as that one plane went up, and just the symbolism there that the missing man was just so touching in ways that I can't even imagine. That I hadn't expected it to be that spectacular. I don't know what I was expecting, but it was more than I ever could have hoped for.
Yeah, so powerful, isn't it? And to know that their names, all of the 10 US servicemen, were on one of those planes there going above us, and with a huge crowd as well, thousands of people who've come here to commemorate the service which your relatives gave. It's incredible, isn't it?
We're so pleased that you all took the trouble to come over here. Tony, I know it's meant a lot to you to meet face to face these family members.
It has, very much so.
It means so much for us to meet you as well.
Thank you.
We'll get together again.
You said that with a lot of meaning. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll be back.
Well, we've been lucky. We have been very blessed this morning. I should thank you as well, gentlemen.
thank you.
Thank you so
Amazing.
much for talking us through what we saw in the skies there. Quite remarkable scenes. And we have been blessed this morning with this beautiful clear sky. It was as if it was always meant to be this way. Perfect timing.
Absolutely perfect. And thanks to the weather, I know Matt, responsible for it obviously, Matt, who's at RAF Coningsby for us this morning, where some of those planes have travelled from. Matt, it worked out all right. It was good weather.
It did, Steph. I can't tell you how nervous I was this morning. Very good morning to RAF Coningsby. Perfect conditions there, of course, in Sheffield for the Flypast. But if you weren't with us early, it was touch and go here at Coningsby and at Lakenheath, where the other aircraft came from. There was some fog just so close to the airfield. That was coming and going. That could have put a stop to the whole proceedings. But we had the weather gods on our side. The sunshine is out. It has been a perfect morning for it. So we're all very, very pleased here. There is still some fog around at the moment for some of you. So let's just get on with the general forecast for the UK, because...
Thank you very much, Matt, where you can hear the US Air Force band playing behind us this morning. And I have to say, the thousands of people here, pretty much overwhelmed by that fly past. I mean, it was incredible, wasn't it?
Yeah, all eyes were looking up to the skies just 5 or so minutes ago, and it has been an extraordinary mixture of emotions.
Yeah.
And I hope you can hear us okay, because it's quite loud. But the band has kind of lifted everyone, and then in amongst it, of course, with the images of those 10 young men who sacrificed their lives, which is why so many people are here today.
Yeah, and at the front of the local paper as well, if you can see this has got a picture of the 10 servicemen who lost their lives here. And it's incredible when you think about the story. 75 years ago here today is when that aircraft crashed, and Tony was a child playing here, feels that his and says his life was saved by the pilot crashing in the forest and not in this land where we are now in the greenery bit, and that has lived with him for his entire life. And just that chance meeting with our Dan, with Dan Walker walking his dog, a couple of tweets later, and the entire city, and it's fair to say nation, has got behind this.
And we should say as well, Tony was with us on the show for a moment ago. As soon as the fly past was over, thank you. As soon as the Flypast was over, the first thing Tony said was, do you mind if I just go? And he has gone walkabout up into the woods just behind us here to where the memorial is itself, because I know he wanted to spend a moment, as he has been struggling with his emotions today. It's such an important day for him. He wanted to spend a moment there, and we wish him well. I think we're going to catch up with him once again before the end of the programme.
You can't get enough of Tony, quite frankly. He's a legend. And I know every time we say the name Tony here, everyone cheers, because he is a remarkable man who has really, really created this event, and everyone here is very thankful for that.
We've been blessed by beautiful weather today. We're feeling very lucky. At the beginning of the day, we weren't sure if it was going to work out as planned. It's been perfect. So we'll be back in just a couple of moments' time. If we show you the shot from high above us now, I can actually see the helicopter from where I am now, but you can probably see us from the skies. So many people gathered here today. Right now, though, let's go to the news, the travel, and the weather where you are.
Here. This is a special BBC breakfast programme live from Endcliffe Park in Sheffield, where I have to say there are thousands of people who came to support Tony and watch the Flypast. Have a look at them all. They've been here for hours. Brave cold this morning because it did start off quite chilly, but the weather has been spectacular for this. Morning, everyone. Yeah, and this story has really captured the hearts of the people here in Sheffield, and also lots of you around the country as well. I'm just going to read an email we've had from Yvonne, who says, my soon-to-be 80-year-old mother has driven from Guiseley in West Yorkshire to be at the Flypast in Sheffield. She set out at 5 o'clock this morning. It would have been her wedding anniversary to my late father, who was in the RAF and a civilian aero engineer. She was determined to show her support because she's been so touched by the whole story. I don't know exactly where she is, but if anyone knows where Yvonne's mum is in the crowd, thank you. So yeah, I know it's going to be a hard task, isn't it? There's thousands of people here, but thank you so much. There are so many stories like this as well this morning. It's really touched people, because this sense of what happened here, and just to imagine it as well, 75 years ago today, there was a plane with 10 US airmen on who were travelling back to their base. And unfortunately they struggled. There was problems with the weather, and when the pilot was coming in to find where he could land, he saw this green area, but then he saw that there were children playing here. One of those children was Tony. He was just 8 at the time. He was playing here, and the pilot thought that he didn't want to hurt the children and ended up crashing the plane into the wooded area over there, where there is now a memorial. And as you know, the whole reason we're here is because of Tony's dedication to that memorial, looking after it, and as he says, they're his family, they're his friends. He feels that he owes his life to them, and so the mixed emotions of celebrating this whilst mourning their loss, it's really, really powerful. And as I say, loads of people here celebrating. We've got some wonderful vehicles around us. We've got a fantastic US Air Force, and we've got Charlie State amongst the crowd somewhere. Charlie, where are you?
Lots of people this morning, many thousands here, but some people, very especially with direct links to what happened 75 years ago. Let me introduce you right now to Ruth Nicholson. Very good morning to you,
Good morning.
Ruth. Now, explain. So it was your 6th birthday.
And it was the first party I'd ever had. And so it started a really happy day. And even though we were on rations, we had a lovely birthday party. And then my sister, who was 3.5 years older than I am, she took us into the front room, because they were always called front rooms then, and we started the party games, and we just played Stick the Tail on the Donkey, and then afterwards we sang The Grand Old Duke of York, and then suddenly the sky went dark and there was this awful noise, and the bay window just shattered, and we just were so frightened, we didn't know what had happened. But my mum, always calm, she came and took us back into the kitchen, and she said, now, there isn't an air raid, something awful's happened, but we're safe now. We shall get to know soon And actually there was a knock on the door, and my friend's mum had called for her, and they lived in a big house at the bottom of Brocker Bank, and she said she heard this noise and she thought it was going to hit the house, and all her windows were just blown out.
So this park, I mean, given what you saw, what you heard so young, this park must have always been an extraordinary place for you.
It always has, and you know, when I was 10 I got a dog and I walked in here every day and walked past on the back where the crash was, and we've got to be so grateful, because those men just gave their lives for us. I mean, I wouldn't be celebrating my 81st birthday.
Because, just to be very clear, and I think as you're speaking, Ruth, we'll show the Flypast, because that is the tribute that has been paid today.
I nearly cried.
Well, and it is that's what it comes down to, isn't it?
I nearly
that
cried.
People like you, living in the houses nearby, had they not done what they did, this could have been a very, very different story.
Well, I think to the BBC to do this, and Tony for the memorial, what a wonderful person. And we're all, so grateful that they really are now acknowledged, because they're wonderful men, gave their life for us. All of them.
Absolutely, and I want to introduce you, just come around the table, the Needham family are here in force this morning, and you need to explain. Very good morning to you. Arthur Needham was your brother.
That's right, yeah.
Now explain what Arthur's link to the story is.
Well, Arthur's link is he was, like other people, he was here one of the first ones, because he was, according to the paper, because I've forgotten it so many years ago, he was near Hunter's Bar. But as soon as they heard the plane, they came straight into the park, because the park was where we always used to play. Everybody who lived around here was always in the park in those days. It was just one of those things. But he came into the park, and he was around like everybody else, one of the first to be at the plane when it happened. It said in the paper that he got hold of one of the airmen's hands, and he had a ring on with the initial H on it. I remember him telling me that. But I know my mum was very upset when he came back that he'd even been involved, because we'd lost my dad in the war 18 months earlier, and she was still grieving that. So it was a bit of a very emotional time for us in those days.
Yeah, and I mean, Jane, his daughter, for you, I mean, there are many people who've turned out today, as you know, many thousands, who didn't have a direct link to it. They've heard the story much later on. For you and your family, a direct link to what happened that day. What's it been like for you?
Well, for me, it became more special. I only found out about 20 years ago when David Harvey wrote a book about me, Amigo, and they contacted my mum, and it was after that point that I found out that Dad had been linked with the crash, and for me it became really special, because those 10 men who, because I grew up around this area, we all went to Hunters Bar School with Dad. Obviously, we'd all followed through. We all lived around the area. So these 10 men who had just been a memorial to us became really special. The lives opened up again for us. We could see all that, that they'd got a background, a family, young men who'd sacrificed everything really for us, and it's just an amazing day really. What's come out of it, and for Tony and everything that he's done, it's fantastic.
Yeah, for those people who were watching our coverage this morning, so many people have turned up this morning, to be here and share the emotions.
Yeah.
Were you surprised at just how it's caught on? How people have bought into everything that's happened?
Yes, I felt surprised. I know about 10 years ago, I did go and visit David Harvey, who wrote the book about my Amigo, but I did. I can reflect back to my childhood when my father. I was around about 10, 12 year old, a similar age to what he was when he came in here. But he did tell me that the plane came in, and he ran towards the plane, and he said that there was a pilot who asked him to help him, to save him, to pull him out, and he attempted him, but he said he couldn't because he was somehow trapped in the plane. and I do sort of remember that when he got home, his mother told him off because it singed his hair and it singed his trousers on the site. I think shortly after he attempted it was moved on by the people who were there, the police or whatever, you know. So I think it's one of these things that in the wartime, it's things that you did without thinking. I don't think people were brave. They just did it automatic. And like my auntie had said, he lost his father in 1942. So you know that it's quite a traumatic sort of period, I think. Yeah.
Well, look, I thank you all very much for sharing your experiences, and thank you so much for joining us this morning. And it is really sobering when you hear the level of sacrifice, and that is why, of course, so many people have turned out here this morning in these beautiful blue skies. Steph, back to you.
Powerful stories here this morning at Endcliffe Park in Sheffield. And the man, of course, who kicked all of this off was Tony. I can't even get your name out and you're getting screamed. Also with us, we've got Group Captain Blythe Crawford from the RAF and Colonel Lee Wingfield from the US Air Force. I mean, that was such a powerful fly past there, wasn't it? I mean, Tony, first of all, how did you feel? Watching that?